What's up, everybody? This is Phil Rogacki.
And I'm Jared Abergina.
You're listening to Two Tree Guys Podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Two Tree Guys Podcast. We're here at Arbor Fest in 2023 in Asheville, North Carolina. And I got a very special guest with me sitting here, Sophie Arnold. And welcome to 2TG. And tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? And
So I'm from Pilot, Virginia, and we're right up in the mountains. So
Okay. Do you like it out there?
yeah, I love the mountains, and there's so many cool trees, and I just love being around trees and wild and stuff. And where there's mountains, there's not very much people, so
That's right. So what's your favorite tree?
I'd say my favorite tree is probably a Japanese maple.
Japanese maple.
I like
That's
how
mine too. So we got something in common.
Oh, that's cool.
What's your so do you have a certain type of Japanese maple? Is it like a dissectum, or do you like the red, or do you like the greens?
I like the red, and I don't know.
So some of them have the real lacy leaf, and some have the broad leaf, and they have all the
I think I
different
probably
varieties.
like the broadleaf better.
broadleaf. Yeah. So how did you fall in love with the tree industry? What did it for you?
Well, my dad started his business when COVID started, and I liked nature before, but I really didn't know much about nature.
Mm-hmm.
So once he started doing trees and everything, I would kind of just like pop in and start like just going on the job site, seeing what he was doing and everything. I'd be like, Dad, bring me,
Yeah. Take me.
take me. But and then I started learning more about trees and liking them more, and like wanting to learn how to take care of them so that they're healthy, and like it just was like a big bomb went off in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, I love trees.
This is my thing.
I know. And then I climbed a rope for the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh.
This is so cool. So how old are you now?
I'm 13 now, about to
Okay.
turn 14 in July. Well, July's a little bit away, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And then when did you first? When was the first time that you started climbing?
The first time I saw climbing?
No, you started climbing.
The first time I climbed, I think I was 11 maybe. Maybe a little bit older. I think I was about to turn 12.
Yeah. Okay.
But I fell in love with it the first time.
So now you got some years under your belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a couple years climbing. So, as far as climbing, what's your favorite way to climb? Do you use like foot ascenders and knee ascenders?
Currently I learned how to do the poor man's panties, I think.
Yeah.
The foot-locking strategy, and I really like that. But it's funny, me and my dad have a joke. We always call it the poor man's panties so that I can remember what it's called. And every time I say it, everybody just busts out laughing. I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, I'm saying panties. No wonder why everybody's laughing.
Right.
And then, but I love doing that for some reason. And my favorite ascender is probably the rope wrench right now.
Okay.
I like the flow.
Yep. The notch flow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. I love it so much.
It makes it so much easier. So you're using a foot ascender now as well with that? you
Yeah, I use the jet step.
Okay, jet step by Edelrid. Yeah, awesome, very cool. Oh, jet steps by. I'm sorry, Notch makes the jet step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of my gear is actually Notch. It's kind of crazy. I didn't recognize it until I came here. I was like, wait, that's all my climbing gear right there.
Yeah.
And then Dad's like, yeah, you use like almost all Notch.
So what about the harness? What harness fits you?
I forgot what it's called.
What about the color?
It's black, and it has the
Okay.
Notch logo right on it.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's a Notch harness as well, and it fits you okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the Velcro strap. It's really, it like helps keep it on, because most harnesses where they just have the clip that you clip on, it kind of like wiggles off of my waist eventually, and then next thing I know, like it's loose, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's got to be hard finding a harness that fits
Yeah.
at your size. I started climbing at 8 years old, and it was very hard. I had to start with rock climbing harnesses that didn't
That's
have.
what I started with.
Yeah, the little straps on there, extremely uncomfortable. Yeah.
Actually, the first harness I had, this is actually really funny. We got a whole bunch of old straps that we used for the trailer and got ropes. And we tied it together because we couldn't find anything that would fit me. And I was over here like, Dad, my legs hurt. This hurts.
Yeah, it's because you had the ratchet strap, so you had the ratchet on it.
And then we went online and we found a rock climbing saddle that was in my size for like $50. And I about had a heart attack.
Yeah.
I was like, Dad, that's going to fit. My mom ordered it as a surprise, and then we went to an Italian restaurant. I don't know if this is important, but we went to an Italian restaurant, and she told me, I was like, oh my gosh. And then it came the next day. I was like, ah.
Yeah, now you got a real harness. What I do with my kids, because they were so uncomfortable, we used to shove diapers in the leg straps and make padding for them. So, if you ever get to the point where it's uncomfortable, just shove a diaper in there. It'll help.
I think one time I just got a whole bunch of ratchet straps and put it underneath thinking that it was going to help, and it made it more uncomfortable. I was like, Dad, what am I doing wrong?
So, is this your first Arbor Expo? Or, I'm sorry, Arbor Fest?
Yes, this is my first Arbor Fest. I went to the TCIA, I think, last year.
In Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I loved it, and Dad was like, well, there's a bigger one. And I'm like, what?
We got to go to all of them.
I was like, wait, what?
So what do you think about this show compared to the TCI Expo? What's the difference to you that you see?
I noticed that the TCI Expo had more stuff, but this one has a lot more people that actually teach you stuff.
Gotcha.
And I like learning what other people do. And I'm like, wait, now I want to go climbing and try that. And I'm like, Dad, we need to find a rope hanging up in a tree somewhere so I can just like go up and try it.
Yeah. Well, I have a whole training station out there that you can play on.
Dad.
Yeah, it's out back. So that's fantastic. So by being here and seeing all the instructors talking and teaching, have you gotten to listen to any of the instructors out there?
Yeah, I've listened. I remember when you climbed and I was like, how did you do that? And then I was like trying to pay attention, and then there's like that one person that just walks right in front of you, and then you're like, wait, stop, move.
Get.
And then I'm over here like waddling around everywhere trying to figure out a good spot so I could see you guys. And then next thing I know, you're out on the tip. I'm like, wait, what?
What happened?
What happened? I looked away for 2 seconds.
So watching some of the instructors here, is there anything so far that you've seen that you could that you would say, okay, I'm going to go back home and I'm going to try this, or I'm going to do something different, or I want a new piece of gear, or something that you can really take home and add to your repertoire of climbing?
Well, I was seeing what everybody had on their saddles and like little stuff that makes your job so much easier, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to bring a crap ton of money next time and buy everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what these places do. They get you sucked in to
I know, it's like,
buy
didn't
everything.
have it.
Yeah.
And then you get home and you're like, why did I buy that? And then you use it, you're like, this is why.
Well, it sounds like you're on a good track. You got a really good harness, really good system, and you're pretty productive. So I heard through the grapevine that you got to run a chainsaw and actually do a removal. Am I right?
Yes, I did.
So tell me about that.
Used the very small top handle Echo.
Okay.
And I was so nervous but so excited at the same same time. And my dad, he hands it to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And I go up there and I'm like, okay, this is the time. And Dad's like, you got to put a little cut underneath it so it doesn't break on the building. Because, of course, it was right above a building, like everything is. Everything growing where it's not supposed to.
Or we build around the trees.
I know. I'm like, wait, why did... And it's funny because the tree was dead. And then she decided to put a building underneath of it.
Yeah. Happens every time.
And I was like, what?
That keeps us in business.
Yeah, I was like, okay, let's do this. And so I brought my Silky up, and I think it scored the bottom. I think.
Yep.
Yeah, and because I didn't want to accidentally hit the rigging line, So I was nervous, so I just used my silky to do the score.
Yeah.
And I got it, and Dad's like, here, go around the tree a little bit. I was like, okay. And I done it, and then it fell, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life until I'm laying in the ground.
Yeah. That is so awesome. And you were in the tree?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Were you on spurs or were you tied into a climbing system?
I had a climbing system right above me. There was like one lead that was alive, and that's the lead I was tied into, and I had like 5 lanyards just everywhere because I was trying to stay in one spot because I didn't want it to hit my foot or my leg, and I was like, okay, I could do this.
Yeah. So you had spurs on? Climbing spurs?
No, actually I did not.
Okay.
I was over here just like...
Yeah.
in this weird position, and then Dad's like, I'm gonna take a picture. I'm like, wait a second, I gotta get in a position. I'm gonna look like Frankenstein up here.
That's so awesome. So you're able to run, I think it's a 2511 Echo, probably the little guy, little one.
That's what it is.
That's a great saw. I love that saw.
It was amazing. I love that little thing.
Yeah.
I'm over here like holding it with my knees and my foot at the same time and like trying to start it. And Dad's like, you got it started. Yeah. I'm like, yay!
Oh, this is great. So you've done your removal. Have you been up in the tree pruning and moving through the canopy?
Oh, definitely. I started out pruning like small like apple trees. Mm-hmm. And I would just like go up there with my harness and a lanyard because there's like nowhere to tie in because they're small. Yeah. And I loved it. And every time we'd have a pruning job, I'd be like, Dad, can I please do it?
You sound like me when I was that age. I was the same exact way.
I'm like, I can do it.
Yeah. That's great. So let's talk about the future here. So now you said you're 13, right?
Yes.
And what's the future for you? What does it look like? Do you want to get certified? Do you want to do a climbing comp? Do you...
I want to be an ISA certified arborist and maybe even a contract climber. I don't know quite yet.
Okay.
I've watched other people and I'm like, contracting looks fun, but at the same time, you don't like know the ground people. Yeah. So that would be the nerve-wracking part for me because I trust the people on the ground, which is my dad and my uncle.
Yep.
And so I'm kind of just used to them always helping me, moving my rope around, getting the brush right off the rope so it's not yanking on me.
Yeah.
And it's funny because sometimes Dad will nerve test me and he'll just like barely shake the rope and I'm over here like, oh, I can't even feel it.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten so comfortable with my gear.
You're like, oh, Dad, leave me alone.
I know, like he could whip it and I'm over here just like,
yeah, I'm fine.
I'm okay.
So contract climbing, would you like to travel? Is that kind of why you want to contract climb, to see the world and be able to work in different places?
I would love to travel.
All right, where's the number one place you would love to go do tree work?
This might sound a little weird, but I've always wanted to go to Rhode Island.
Okay.
I have no clue why.
Like,
out of all the places, and I choose Rhode Island.
Yeah, well, just so you know, I got a very special place for Providence, Rhode Island, because that is where I won my international tree climbing competition.
Really?
Yep, I have my world title in Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, so that's so cool.
They have amazing trees. In 2009, that's where I won. Yeah.
I was born in 2009.
Look at that. See, just so many things in common. That's fantastic. So, arborist, are you already studying for your arborist exams? Are you already kind of reading some of the material in the books?
So my dad actually bought the ISA certification book last year, like at December, and we were kind of studying it together, but like he started studying and I was over here like, oh wait, I forgot. Oh my gosh. And then I'll be like, he sent it to me on my phone on notebook. So I was like trying to figure out where it was. And then I'm like, how do you pronounce that? Dad's like, it's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Learning the names is tough. And, you know, as a kid, how I learned a lot of the Latin names for the trees was I was sitting in the back seat. And my parents were studying for their test, and they would drive down the street, and they would point out, and and they would say, okay, there's an oak tree, Corcus virginiana or Corcus lobata, and I'd be back there, and I wasn't paying attention, but it started to stick with me, and that's how I learned a lot of my botanical names for these trees. It's kind of funny.
I've learned a lot from actually listening to the podcast. Dad will cut on just a random podcast, like two tree guys or two tree guys and a bucket of beer. And I'm over here like, oh, this is so cool.
These guys are silly.
I know, it's so funny. And then one that I did like to listen to for a while was, trying to remember. I'm pretty sure it was Tree Talk for Tree Nerds.
Okay.
And that's where I first started listening. And then after I listened to half of those, yours popped up. And I was like, okay, let me press on this and see this. And then I kept just listening to all of them. And I was like, wait, it's over already? No,
I need more. Stop.
And then I would just listen to it again. And mostly I listen to it when I'm studying. And then I'm like, how am I studying if I'm studying two things at the same time?
Yeah, well, you got that special brain to do that. I cannot do that. Yeah.
And then I would realize that when I'm studying my actual schoolwork, I'm like, oh, wait, what is that? And then I'm like, okay, I got to study this all over again.
Yeah. Well, so before we get off the show, what are some words of wisdom that you can pass on to maybe somebody, a younger generation like yourself, about our industry, or, if they're listening, what would you pass on to them?
Don't rush.
Okay. Why?
Slow is better.
Gotcha.
Because if you go really fast, you get your lanyard. You get your lanyard tangled up with your rope or something like that, and then you get up in the tree and you're all nerve-wracked because everything's tangled up, and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this untangled? And then you have to like unhook everything, make sure you don't drop it, which is a really big problem. And then next thing you know, you drop something, you're like, dang nabbit.
Yep. So and don't rush. Stay calm.
And try to have everything organized in a special spot.
That's a good one.
So you don't forget where it is. Like your figure eight, make that easy to access.
There you go.
Make sure it's not over here on your helmet or something. I don't know.
Yeah, these are great tips for everybody listening. I mean, two main things, a lot of climbers out there get complacent with are those two right there, rushing and not being organized. So that's really good for the whole world to take note on and make sure we're safe. So, Sophie, I'm sure this is going to be number one of many episodes, hopefully, and we'll get to get you back. Maybe we'll get to fly you out to California, and we'll do a podcast there at some point.
Oh, my gosh, that'd be so fun.
We'll get you out for some training and come see the academy, and maybe we can work something out. So I appreciate you taking the time at the show to come share your knowledge and hopefully inspire some of the next generation or the younger generation to be part of this industry. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Give me some.